from the most modern ghost town to abandoned lavish spa town. Here are the most abandoned places in the world, Part 3. Let's start with Kennecott, Alaska. Nearly $200 million worth of copper was processed in Kennecott from 1911 to 1938, a self-contained mining town with its own hospital, skating rink, tennis court, and dairy. But most of the buildings have now been abandoned for around 60 years, some of which have deteriorated past the point of salvation, but are still quite lovely. The National Park Service acquired many of Kennecott's buildings and lands in 1998. The visitor center is open from Memorial Day through Labor Day, and the recreation hall is available to rent for events. Rummu Prison, Estonia. Of all the underwater sites around the world, Estonia's semi-emerged Rummu prison might just be the creepiest. The prison was built by the Soviet Union and filled with inmates in the 1940s, where the prisoners were forced to work in the nearby limestone quarry. The jail was abandoned when Estonia gained its independence in 1991, and the lack of supervision caused the quarry to quickly fill up with water. Rummu prison is now a popular beach, especially among scuba divers who want to explore the submerged buildings and mining equipment below the surface. Marco Island Dome Homes, Florida. If Luke Skywalker lived in Florida, you could probably find him meditating in one of the dome homes off the tip of Marco Island. The alien-looking houses were actually the brainchild of a retired oil tycoon who built the structures in 1981 to be an eco-friendly vacation home for his family. But Florida will be Florida, and harsh weather and eroding shorelines surrounded the dome homes with water and rendered them unlivable. There's no plan to try to reoccupy the futuristic buildings, but it sure is fun to make up legends about where they came from and what purpose they serve, the Stonehenge of southern Florida, if you will. Kolmanskop, Namibia. You wouldn't guess by looking at it now, but the town of Kolmanskop was once the spot of diamond mining and extravagance in 1908. But once the fair-weather inhabitants discovered more diamonds south of Kolmanskop, the site instantly became a ghost town. It is now famous for its eerie, sand-filled houses, which have appeared on screen several times, notably in Dust Devil, 1993, and The King is Alive, 2000. Łapalice Castle, Poland. Imposing and ornate, Łapalice Castle resembles many of Eastern Europe's legendary spooky castles. Only Łapalice Castle was built in 1979, and it's not even technically a castle. The grand building was originally built as a studio for artist Piotr Kazimierczak, which for some reason needed a swimming pool, ballroom, ramparts, and a dozen towers. Unfortunately, Kazimierczak had to abandon his project before it was ever completed, thanks to the double threat of not having enough money and not having necessary permits for the land. Now, the castle is merely a shell of what could have been, with graffiti adorning the crumbling walls. Kangbashi, China. Welcome to the most modern ghost town you'll ever see. Located in the city of Ordos, Kangbashi new area was intended to be a 130 square mile residential area built to accommodate some 1 million people. Construction of the futuristic city within a city began in 2003, but city officials had trouble filling the super expensive apartment buildings. And the remote desert location certainly didn't help matters. It's almost as if Kangbashi was built for a Ridley Scott movie, and then completely abandoned once shooting ended. Today, people can still visit the area and wander through the surprisingly intact buildings and art installations. Before we go to our last spot, don't forget to like and comment. Tskaltubo, Georgia. Once a lavish spa town in Georgia, Tskaltubo fell into disarray when the Soviet Union collapsed in 1991. Before that, the lavish retreat was a hot spot for the elites of the Communist Party, with an array of bathhouses and hotels. The abandoned wellness destination has served as a refuge for displaced Abkhazian people since the Abkhaz-Georgian conflict of 1992, as well as a popular spot for urban explorers and photographers.